Hello, 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 and welcome. I am Ty Talks Everything, and this is my first time going live on YouTube. And today we're going to be talking about recovery, specifically that recovery is within all of us and that it will keep us moving towards its promises as long as we continue to choose being in recovery. So, welcome to everyone who's here. Not expecting a lot, so I'm really just recording this for fans to be able, I said fans, for people to be able to watch this as a replay. So, let's get to it. I have some notes here to just kind of keep me focused and on task. Let's see. Where are my glasses? Yes. Alrighty. So, we're going to talk about recovery. And again, I'm Ty Talk Everything. Just to give you a little bit about myself, I am a peer recovery support specialist in the state of Nevada. I'm certified. I am also someone who's in recovery from a problem with gambling. So, I've been into an intensive outpatient program back in 2005, and I haven't had to place a bet since September 28th or 27th, I should say, which was the last day I placed a bet. And after that, I went into treatment and I went into Gamblers Anonymous Fellowship, which is a 12-step program, and I have given up my anonymity and I am sharing my story, my recovery, also my training as a peer recovery support specialist, someone with lived experience with dealing with problem gambling as well as mental health condition. I was diagnosed with bipolar 1 as well as complex PTSD. I am a I'm in recovery from having breast cancer surgery not once but twice. I recently had my latest surgery in December of 2024. I will have the second of the three surgeries as part of my reconstruction next month in August. And then my third and final one, hopefully, I'll find out when I'm having that this month. Um, Hopefully, it'll be at the end of this year or the very beginning of next. And I'll tell you why later. Anywho, I'm also someone who joined Love Addicts Anonymous. I have almost have I have 8 months in that program, and I am also in Al Anon, and I have over a year in Al Anon. So, yeah, I am grateful to be sharing my experience, strength, and hope, and I'm grateful to be live with you. Well, welcome. Again, I'm Ty from Ty Talks Everything, and I'm going to share on this channel, some personal and powerful stories and anecdotes and just things that I have lived through and have overcome with a lot of internal work with professionals, psychiatrists, psychologists, and counselors, as well as going, like I said, into an intensive outpatient program here in the state of Nevada, here in Southern Nevada. And I just want you to know that recovery isn't something that's far away. It is not for the lucky or the strong. It is inside each of us. And we all have things that we may need to recover from. And again, this isn't just about addictions. Um, it's also about mental health conditions, grief, burnout, heartbreak, or any kind of trauma, um, this live for you. If you can relate to any of those things, and I don't hasn't experienced some form of trauma, whether you recognize it as trauma or not. Um, I personally have experienced various types of trauma, from medical trauma to sexual assault trauma to childhood neglect and abuse. Um, yeah, a lot of things. But you see this? I still have a smile on my face because that what's in my past is in my past and it doesn't have to be my present or my future today. I just want to live in today. So, we're going to talk about how to stay in motion towards the promises of recovery. And recovery is something that must be intentional, or at least that's been my experience. I've been very intentional about my recovery. I'm going to get a little bit more comfortable. So, again, this is my first live on YouTube on Tuesdays. I will come on to YouTube. I'm going to figure out what time makes sense, but today we started at almost 3:30, wanted to start at 3, had some technical difficulties. But Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'm going to be going live and having talks and conversations, and hopefully we'll build a following and people will see this as a safe space, to come and talk, because I don't allow any um, negative or unhelpful commentary in chats, comments, any of that. And if you are a professional with accreditations or credentials, and you would love to be interviewed on this channel or be a part of a panel, we can make that happen and share it here on this channel. Um, if you are on Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok, you can find me at Ty Talks Everything. That is the name on all of the platforms that I'm on. I am actively on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And I do have a Snapchat, but I'm not on there very often, um, as I get going on this journey of being not just a content creator, but hopefully a resource for people all over the world. Um, I'm really hoping that I can be of help. Um, so let's get started. Okay, recovery is not linear, but it is possible. I believe that very, um, very seriously, I guess. um, my my story um, is varied, right? I like to say that um, my first addiction was being a workaholic, because when I began to work, and that was at the age of 15, I I did not have balance, and like I just wanted to work all the time. Um, it was a way to escape. It was also a way to provide um, financially for myself. I come from a very disjointed and dysfunctional family, like a lot of people may have experienced. Um, I do believe that I am a walking miracle because I was able to get through so much of what I experienced as a young child, then as a teenager, a young adult, and now a 50-year-old woman who has gone through a lot, especially during the 19 plus years I have been in recovery from a gambling problem. Um, I am grateful. I'm not ashamed. Um, I have permission to talk about my story and everything from my children who have only known me in recovery, and I'm grateful for that. But I really just wanted to like talk and create a space because there's not a lot of conversations being led by people who look like me with lived experience. Um, because often we're just carrying so much shame. And, I am still working through um, being comfortable with or just being in acceptance of everything that I've gone through. I'm in acceptance of it, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't still cause me harm or hurt. That's part of the reason why I gambled. I was an escape gambler. Some folks could be an action gambler and an escape gambler, so it's more situational, or maybe they're more of an action gambler. An action gambler is often considered someone who only feels like, they belong or part of, or they're kind of activated if they are, the center of attention, kind of having a bit of an ego, want to throw money around, want to be the life of the party, want to be seen, as a person of standard and success and just all different kinds of things can go behind their only feeling, alive or part of by being active in their addictive behaviors of gambling. Um, an escape gambler like myself, and I feel like I am really um, a pure escape gambler when I was gambling. I placed my last bet on September 27th of 2005, and it was a very scary day. And I'm going to share bits and pieces of my story. I do it in, you know, speaking engagements, but I also do it a lot um, as service to the 12 Step Fellowship I'm a member of. And I will do it on Zooms in person. I live in Las Vegas, Nevada. And some people are like, "Oh, how can you live there and, have a problem with gambling or be in recovery from gambling," which is what I'm grateful to be in. Um, the reality is you take you with you wherever you go. And so it doesn't matter for me where I live. I have decided and have chosen, and I continue to do the work to not place a bet, to not want to escape um, via gambling. I was a casino gambler. I grew up back east. We did not have um, casinos at that time. We do now. We didn't have casinos. We had racetracks, we had the lottery and scratch tickets and bingo. And I learned through going to an intensive outpatient program that the very first time I gambled, you're not going to believe how old I was. I want you to think. And if you're watching this replay, I would love for you to put the age you thought I would say in the comments. I'm giving you time to do that. And now I'm going to tell you how old I was. I was 6 years, no, five going on 6 years old when I placed my first bet. You say, how is that possible? Well, my mom would go to play bingo. And oftentimes, she and other parents would bring their kids, and even though we weren't allowed to be in the bingo hall when they were calling numbers, we were allowed to be in the outside of the hall, so in the lobby area and in the parking lot. And so we would play outside in the parking lot and once or in the halls, and during breaks the doors would open and we were allowed to go in. And typically we'd go in so that we could, our parent would give us a bag of chips or something to drink or a snack of some kind. But inevitably, they would hand us these little pull tabs that are essentially paper slot machines. I have no idea if they still do those things or what the world of bingo or gambling is as it relates to that. But um, this happened when I was 5 going on 6 years old, and my mom loved to go bingo. I mean, she would drive the bingo bus, and she would hand me she would hand me the cards, and I would pull them, and I distinctly remember winning and feeling so excited, and I remember screaming, I won, I got 3 cherries, I got 3 cherries," and, realizing that that kind of little thing could have been the beginning, um, but I can honestly say I did not start to gamble with any kind of regularity until I moved to Las Vegas in 2000. And I was in denial about my gambling. I was in denial about how bad it was. I was lying. I was hiding. I was borrowing money. And I just was a mess. And it had me um, being wanting to alive myself, and that is something that I struggled with from the age of 8, because I also suffer from a mental health condition, and it is something that I've had to be intentional and work on, and it's only within the last 3.5 years that I have found the right combination. Um, of pills that actually um, help me from having those thoughts on a regular basis. And I'm so grateful for that. And I know that that would have never happened if I never would have dealt with, um, you know, my addiction to problem gambling, my addiction to gambling. Um, you'll hear people say compulsive gambler, you'll hear people say a person um, that has a problem with gambling. It's important to use first person language. Um, However, in the fellowship that I'm in, we often identify ourselves as compulsive gamblers before we speak. And you may have heard things like that or seen it in scenes on shows. There's a show right now. It's one of my guilty pleasures. It is called Beyond the Gates. It is a soap opera, a new soap opera that just came out this year. And I love it. One, because it is set in the DMV, specifically a county that I actually lived in and was very active in the state of Maryland. It's called Prince George County. And Prince George's County, for a very long time, has always had an affluent population of Black families. And so, anywho, this soap opera called Beyond the Gates is my like guilty pleasure. I love it. So excited that they got um, picked up, and they're doing so well. And if you haven't watched it, totally watch it, and then like, let me know what you think. But in there, I'm so happy to see that they have a character that is dealing with a problem with gambling, and he's a doctor, right? And I really love how they are doing their best to make the character, I feel, very authentic to people I've seen in the rooms and very relatable to me as someone, um, who's gone through it and who's still in recovery and takes I take my recovery very seriously, and I've worked my steps multiple times with different sponsors, and I really do work the program how it is suggested. But on the show, sometimes they of course, do things for salacious. I mean, it's a soap opera, so I get it. But hey, if anyone from Beyond the Gates, who's in the writer room, wants, to ask questions about problem gambling and the symptoms, and then also kind of what happens when someone stops gambling and chooses recovery. Because a lot of people don't realize that even though a problem gambler doesn't ingest anything, we can still go through physical withdrawals. And I am someone who did go through physical withdrawals. Um, Anywho, I'm not gonna tell my whole story right now. Um, I know that there are people who may be, watching this, and they're like, "Oh, I don't have a problem with gambling, I have a problem with this or that." Anything that I share or discuss in terms of tools and resources, you will be able to, adapt and adjust to make it relatable and and applicable to you. I'm just so certain of that. If you want it to, because sometimes we're just not ready to hear, what we need to hear. So, there is no such thing as a perfect path in recovery. There just isn't. And so I really want to preference that your recovery journey is yours. No two people have the same journey. There may be similarities, they may be even shared experiences. However, you know, there your path is your path. You get it when you get it. Some folks are like, wanting a pill or thinking there's only one way to get recovery, and there isn't. For me, I need abstinence from gambling, and I need abstinence from maintaining relationships with people who love bomb, who, behavior doesn't align with my lifestyle and my goals and my values. And I am someone who has dealt with so much abandonment and neglect and grief, and that I realized I needed a fellowship to learn how to love in a healthy way, not just myself. I actually learned to love myself by working a 12-step fellowship, by getting recovery, by going to therapy. I have gone to therapy ever since I was 16, 17 years old. I have gone to therapy on and off, whether that's seeing a counselor at school, whether that was high school or my college, um, seeing a therapist, through my insurance, things of that nature. And I dealt with so much, right? And we all have the things that, other people would have been kind of taken out from, like they would could be potentially just unable to cope or deal. And I have a lot of trauma responses that are part of my character defects, but are also tools that help me protect myself. I learned in recovery to um, love myself, show myself grace and self compassion, and really be able to be in acceptance, the good, the bad, the ugly, the just every aspect of living. And for a long time, I just struggled to do that. And a symptom of all of that pain and hurt and unprocessed trauma and grief and not knowing my like how to name my emotions, process them, and move through them. All of that came from working a 12-step program and doing therapy. I maintain my recovery because I go to lots of meetings. I'm I am in group chats. I'm in different, fellowships and organizations, and it is become a part of my life, and it's a gift. Recovery is a gift I give myself every day that I choose not to act out, not to um, not to walk in what I believe is my purpose. And I believe everything that has happened to me happened so that I could do what I'm doing right now, which is share and let people know that they are not alone, that recovery is possible. It is not perfect, as I was saying earlier. I had a relapse. I did not go into program and stay. The very first time I went into program was in 2003, and it was not for me. So it didn't work, it didn't stick. It didn't work because I didn't work it. I didn't have a sponsor. I was going to meetings, I was even going to after meetings, but I was in denial about my disease, the disorder, the sickness, all of it, the why. For me, I needed to know the why. And for those who are just like, "Oh, she could have just stopped. She could have just chose not to gamble. She could just," well, when you are in active addiction, the addictive part of your brain, when it takes over and all it's craving is that dopamine rush. Um, when it's a substance, that dopamine rush happens when you ingest whatever it is that you're ingesting. For me, when I placed a bet, whether I won or lost, I got that dopamine rush and I just craved it. And because that active addiction part of my brain was full throttle, the front the frontal lobe cortex, I the reasoning and rational part of my brain that helps me to be like, "Oh, I don't wanna do this because this is going to hurt me and my family." That part of the brain can't work when the addiction part is activated and it's in full gear. It takes 12 to 18 months to structure and change your brain once you've activated that addiction. So, you know, for me, I needed abstinence to even remotely start to think clearly. And the further and further I got away from my last bet, the better my thinking became, the more tools I was willing to try, to embrace. It's just so many different things. And I know I jumped around here, but recovery is not a destination. You can't, it doesn't just start at point A and once you get to B, you're recovered. There's no such thing. I take it one day at a time, and I know that I am happy that I get to be in a fellowship that is making me a better person. one day at a time. I am grateful for all the literature and all the different fellowships. I mean, there's a fellowship for everything. You got everything from Overeaters Anonymous. You have, like, I think there's 72 12-step programs. And then you have variations of those 12-step programs. We have GA for Gamblers Anonymous, but we also have Betters Anonymous. That is a 12-step program, right? Um, I am learning so much, and I'm doing something my mom, wasn't able to do, and neither was my dad. They both had their addictive behaviors and challenges, and neither of them went for treatment and had recovery. Um, and it's really sad, but for me and mine, I call my kids my heartbeats, because I truly believe if it wasn't for them, that I wouldn't be here today. I know that my higher power, who I call God, um, has a purpose for my life. And even though back in the day I was always asking why me, today I don't do that. Today, I'm in gratitude and thankful that I have the opportunity to heal, to recover, to have a better way of thinking and living, to have peace. This year, my goodness, I've had very few years within my 50 years on this earth where um, there was just consistent peace. And what I've learned this year is that even in the midst of some really difficult challenges, professionally, personally, financially, all of these things, it is really my ability to be in acceptance that delivers peace and opens the door to joy and happiness. And I used to think that I would never be happy, or like for any consistent amount of time. I was always waiting for the other shoe to drop. And today I don't do that. Today I worry about the things that I can control, which is just me. I can only control what I do, what I say, what I don't do, what I don't say, how I respond, all of those things. Um, by no means do I think that I have all the answers or that I am perfect. I am a human being doing the best that I can to 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 live a life that is of purpose, that is full of peace and acceptance, because with all of that, I have balance. And having such an unbalanced upbringing where I was not a protected child, um, when I was essentially being asked to deal with adult issues as a child, um, definitely caused a lot of harm. But I know that I was predisposed to have an addiction, and so are my kids, because they have two parents who have the addictive gene and who had that addictive gene activated. And I am in recovery, and I am choosing a life in recovery, because I finally learned that I deserve better and I deserve more, and I have learned how to love myself, and I've learned how to have healthy relationships, how to not attach myself to someone who has an avoidance behavior. Um, I I'm not reliant on getting my happiness from the outside, because I know it's an inside job. And I'm grateful that I have the relationships that I have with my young adult children because I know a big part of that is because of my recovery. And, I want to I want to ask you a question, just something to think about. What promises are you chasing right now in your life? What things do you feel are just a far reach from you? Think about that. I'm going to um, make available to those who are subscribers. Once you're a subscriber, and I also have you subscribe to my newsletter, you will receive some free information to help you kind of process and break down some things as you're setting some goals and you are, looking for those promises of working a recovery program and living a lifestyle of recovery. Um, so, like, what are some of these promises, right? First of all, there are a lot, can't name them all, so please don't think this list is exhaustive. Um, also, the promises of recovery are real. I am a witness to the the promises becoming real in my life on a daily basis. It's I if if I would have known to just go into an intensive program when I first um, when I first acknowledged that I had a problem, but I didn't think it was that bad. But had I just known or was encouraged to do an intensive outpatient program in 2003, I would already have 20 years in fellowship um, instead of, having 19 years and 7 months so far, right? Or actually, it's 7.5 months. Anyhow, it doesn't matter. Um, I just know that the promises are real. And so, what are a few of the promises? Okay, so inner peace. Whew, that is priceless. And when I tell you, when you get it, especially if you're like me and you didn't have it until later in life, right? And I'm talking late in life. So getting into recovery and starting a recovery doesn't mean that everything just automatically becomes um, better, right? Like it just doesn't work that way. Got to do the work, have to be intentional. Um, for me, I had to get out of my own way. I had to be willing to do everything that was suggested of me, even if I didn't think it applied to me or if it would work for me. I just had to just focus on doing what other people had done to stop gambling before me. And I'm grateful for the people who are part of what we call the class of 2025, 2025, of 2005. Um, yeah, the year that I started my recovery, there are many people who started before me, months before me, and months after me who are still in recovery. And we're experiencing that inner peace, repaired relationship. The first relationship I needed to repair and really kind of solidify was my relationship with myself. Um, I talked to myself in ways I would never allow someone else to. I had the itty bitty mean girl committee in my head that would reiterate things that were said to me when I was bullied. And hey, I know for a fact some of my former bullies um, will see this. I just know it. Um, and at the end of the day, I I'm still here and I am living literally my wildest dream. Um, but repaired relationships, having a purpose, a career, and community. I have all those things today. Um, I didn't, and I wasn't fully present um, when I was active in my addiction. So I wasn't a good friend. Um, I wasn't a good community member. Um, Mental clarity and emotional growth. Yes, all of these happen um, doing the work, being uncomfortable, asking for help. That was a big one for me. And it's still a challenge, but I've gotten so much better and I'm determined to be intentional and keep doing the work. Um, if you've experienced a promise of recovery, share it in the comments if you would. Um, it is uh, it is my wish that this channel will grow, and from it, more and more people will recognize the gift of recovery and will choose to start their recovery, to start making small steps. Small steps can lead to big changes in your life. Think about the things that you are constantly talking about to family and friends, and maybe even coworkers. If it's relationships, maybe look at Love Addicts Anonymous and see if the information you will find um, you can relate to. If you are having a financial problem and you are overspending, maybe you're gambling, maybe you're just, you know, um, not being intentional about your relationship with money. You have Debtors Anonymous. Um, there are so many 12-step programs, and I may put in the comments like a list. I don't know. I doubt it will be exhaustive. And some programs may be called something different in another country, but recovery is worldwide. It is worldwide. So please, if you've experienced a promise of recovery, drop it in the comments. If you have specific questions about recovery, about becoming a peer recovery support specialist, about um, an issue that you're having and you don't know if there's a 12-step program, and yes, of course you can Google, but maybe you're worried someone's going to see your search history. Who knows? Leave me a message or email me at email hello at Thai Talks Everything. Hello at ThaiTalksEverything.com. You can email me. My website is being remodeled. I'm doing it myself. It's under construction. Bear with me. I'm doing an entire rebranding and just being more intentional and focused about the services that I offer. I'm really excited about what's to come. And while no one popped in, and that's fine, I am doing this for whoever will stumble. So if you've stumbled across this, please like, subscribe, comment, and share this if you feel it would be helpful to someone in your life. Also, again, follow me on all social media platforms at Ty Talks Everything. And before we go, I want to give you a couple of daily practices that I do that really keeps me moving um, in my recovery and towards more promises every day. I do breath work, and you may have seen a video short that I have called My Breath is My Boundary. Yeah, I'm going to talk about that in greater details. Um, but it's exactly what it says. Being quiet, taking a pause, taking a breath is a boundary you can set for yourself that can help you protect your peace. Gratitude journaling or journaling in general. And some people are like, oh, I hate to write. Journaling can be whatever that looks like to you. It could be sketching. It could be just putting words on a page. It could be just putting, things that you're grateful for. You could um, write yourself a letter, write your inner child a letter. I've been doing a lot of inner child work this year. Um, and what I decided some years ago is to focus on different parts of my journey, different parts that need healing, that, you know, causes any kind of harm to my recovery or to my ability to just continue growing and being emotionally balanced and staying on top of taking all of the necessary medications I need to take for my different health issues. And yeah, um, phone boundaries. Hello. Setting them for yourself, whether that's, lessening the doom scrolling, uh, setting. I know for me, it's been very helpful to have um, the internet and social media breaks programmed on my phone and to get my weekly report that tells me if I was, doing was I on the phone or using it more for the internet more this week than last week? And I can check my habits. I typically have my social media kind of built into my days. Um, but I have been known to feel like my phone is glued to my hand, and setting boundaries with the phone, not accepting calls from work during non-work hours, um, or feeling the need to respond to emails at all hours of the night or text messages. I absolutely started a few years ago to not answer or open text messages unless I was going to be able to reply right away. Sometimes I forget. My memory is that of a chicken. Yes. Sometimes I literally am just moving too fast. I do believe I have ADHD. I am in the process of getting an official diagnosis. But just on everything that I have researched and learned about ADHD, especially um, probably having it even as a kid, but it wasn't dealt with or looked at. Nothing was mainly. So, except those vaccinations, but I'm grateful for that. Anywho, yeah, it's important to find what healthy boundaries and what things you can do to keep you moving forward. Um, for me, getting to lots and lots of meetings, and that's whether it's online or in person. Also, affirmations. I have a lot of them, and I'll be actually on my link tree, and my link tree is Ty Talks Everything. You can go, and I have some resources there, including a link to my Google map profile where I have reviewed a lot of restaurants and places, not just here in the United States, but even abroad. And I'm constantly um, catching up because I think right now I have probably 20 reviews I need to do from some traveling I did abroad and here in the States, in Louisiana and Mississippi. So, yeah, I've got a lot to do. And I do want to say a great affirmation that you may find helpful is the promises are already unfolding within me. I trust the process. That's a great affirmation, and I'll put that in the comments as well. The promises of recovery are already unfolding within me. I trust the process. Work it because you're worth it and let it work. If you are looking for resources, please do check my link tree. You will find links there. Um, a great organization that I volunteer for and have been trained by in a lot of different areas is NAMI, NAMI, NAMI.org. You should have a local NAMI affiliate. Um, and get involved. They're great. It's a great organization. Most of their activities, at least here locally, almost all of their activities are free here. And the UK has Mind Charity, Canada has Wellness Together. There's so many organizations. Um, and there are global fellowships. You have Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, Gamblers Anonymous, Recovery Dharma, Smart Recovery, Foundation for Recovery. There's so many different groups. Um, and I just want to say in closing, recovery does not wait for you to be perfect. It just asks you to show up one day at a time. Also, keep moving, keep breathing, as well as um, progress, not perfection. Love y'all. I'll see you. I believe in your healing. I believe in your recovery. You got this. Keep going. Don't give up. And I'll see you soon. Thanks. I'm Tide Talks Everything. Let's walk this recovery road together, or scroll, or roll. Let's just make this a we, because they're all we programs. Be blessed.